You're watching Afternoon Live now. A British couple on board a quarantined cruise ship in Japan said they've tested positive for coronavirus. Sally and David Abel from Northamptonshire are among 74 Britons on the Diamond Princess, which was quarantined in the port of Yokohama 2 weeks ago. More than 500 people on board have contracted the virus. They're due to be transported to specialist hospitals from tomorrow. Our correspondent Nick Beake sent this report.
For 2 weeks, the Diamond Princess has been a floating prison. More than 3,000 people quarantined to prevent the coronavirus spreading on shore. But all the time, more and more passengers have been testing positive on board.
That 30 seconds must be up, so let's see what this is doing.
British tourists David and Sally Abel have been documenting their experience and pleading with the government to help them leave the ship.
We had a message from the embassy to say there's possibilities, there might be things happening, there could be things, but there's nothing constructive. There certainly is no aeroplane on the way to Japan to pick up the Brits.
Not to the best of our knowledge.
We have not been informed of that, OK?
But this morning, in a Facebook post, David revealed the couple had now both tested positive for the virus. Their son says Britain has treated them appallingly.
I've seen the cracks in the armour, they're coming down. My mum's, she breaks into tears frequently when we call her. My dad's short-tempered, but this is all because of the situation they're in, and they're not getting any communication from our country, which is terrible.
Following America's lead, South Korea is among the countries preparing to fly its citizens home, using its presidential plane to do so. The UK Foreign Office now says it's working to organise a flight back, but an evacuation is unlikely to happen today. All this as China released findings from the biggest study so far on this corona outbreak. Health officials in China looked at more than 40,000 cases of the coronavirus and concluded that more than 80% of them were mild. Unsurprisingly, the elderly and the sick were most at risk. The research also highlights just how dangerous the virus can be for doctors and nurses on the front line. As medical director of a hospital in Wuhan, where the outbreak began, Dr. Liu Chuming led the fight against this invisible killer. But he has now died after contracting the virus himself. Back in the port of Yokohama, where so many are so desperate to leave, the Britons on board are among those who must wait longer for their misery to end. Nick Beake, BBC News, Hong Kong.
Well, let's get more on this. Joining me now, Dr. Bharat Pankhania is a senior clinical lecturer at the University of Exeter. Thank you very much for joining us. Looking at the way the numbers of those contracting the virus on this ship is going up exponentially would suggest that any attempts at quarantine are failing and failing badly.
I would agree with you, and it is of concern that we have so many cases. This is unexpected, and I have been racking my brains for the last 2-3 days, watching the numbers go up and wondering what is going on. And I am concerned that could it be that there is an alternative way of transmission of this infection because of the special circumstances in which the people happen to be, i.e. on a boat, enclosed in a cabin with a circulatory system of just the air conditioning that they have. And I'm beginning to wonder, could this be implicated?
Well, that would have massive implications, because at the moment we're being told that this is spread via liquid, by close contact. If, as you suggest, there's a chance it could be contracted through air conditioning units, well, that changes the whole game in terms of combating this, doesn't it?
I must admit, this is a special circumstance on this ship. We've had something similar like this in the 2002 SARS outbreak, whereby the air conditioning systems were also implicated. I think under some special circumstances, could it be that this coronavirus is also transmitted through other means? We don't know. What is of concern, and hence the questions I'm asking, is why so many people have been infected. It sounds very unusual, considering they were put into quarantine, and they continue to nevertheless become unwell. And hence, I think overall, the virus is definitely transmitted as a droplet spread. But could it be, under special circumstances, confined in a cabin over a long period of time, captive with this recirculated air system? Could this have led to the extra cases that we see on this cruise liner?
Well, it wouldn't just be a cruise liner, because if, as the UK is saying, when anybody comes back to the UK, they'll be put into a hotel. They've booked a hotel at Heathrow, which presumably will also have air conditioning. It'll face exactly the same problem.
Well, yes and no. So your question is very relevant. So my thinking is as follows. The people in the hotel are in quarantine. In other words, they're not cases. But the moment they become a case, they cannot be housed in the hotel under any circumstance. Because if this is a hypothetical thing whereby the virus may travel through the air conditioning system, then it's a no-brainer that you cannot have a case in a hotel room. So I think the UK government's plans are that if you were to become a case, you will be moved to a clinical setting, not kept in the hotel room, even if you are otherwise well.
OK, Dr. Bharat Pankhania, thank you very much for joining us.